because while we're going live today, this will be available forever in many dimensions. So today we have the great pleasure of having the beautiful Autumn Smith of Paleovalley and your the mind. This is new to me, right? Your other company that has with agriculture. What is it?
Yeah. Wild
and food
Pastures.
delivery. What is it?
It's called Wild Pastures. Yeah.
Wild Pastures. So I'm super excited to learn about this because when I was learning more about you, I wasn't even aware of Wild Pastures. I was aware of Paleovalley and what you were doing for not only consumers, but for agriculture, right? And for the environment and for the food industry. And I was like, oh, I gotta have her on. So I'm really excited to dive in today. And Autumn is not only a powerhouse entrepreneur, but she's also a really dedicated mother. So we're just gonna dive in and really get into it. I wanna, she has an incredible list of credentials. So I don't want to do a disservice to those. So not only is she the co-founder of Paleovalley and Wild Pastures, but she's got a master's in holistic nutrition. She's taken certified eating psychology. I believe you have a degree in this. And this was what was really, I was like, ooh, she is really into fitness and dance as well, and toured with Jennifer, right? Isn't this kind of
yeah, with
from your past?
Yeah, back in 2012. Oh my goodness. But yes.
It seems like a lifetime ago, right? Then you start a company and then you become this career person and you're like, I traveled the world with Jennifer Lopez.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It feels like another life.
So well, thank you so much for being here. And I know you have so much wisdom to share with everyone. And what I would love to hear from you is you in your bio, and I know how you got into this. It was all about your passion and dedication to healing yourself from IBS and anxiety. So can you tell me a little bit about that path and how this kind of came to fruition, what that was like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was young, I was a pretty happy girl in middle school. But once I hit my teens, I started to develop these digestive issues. IBS is what I was actually diagnosed with. But no one could really, they gave me what did they give me? Beano, I think was their solution. Just basically said, oh, this is stress related. There's not a lot we can do. And so I just went on and did not address my gut issues, and soon they started to manifest into anxiety and depression and substance abuse and on, because we didn't know it at the time, but there's this direct link between the gut and the brain. They're constantly communicating. And so just negative thoughts and worry, you can feel that in your stomach. But what we didn't also know until recently is that you can have pathogens or dysbiosis, which just means an imbalance between good and bad bacteria that communicate those feelings to your brain. So your gut problems can actually manifest in anxiety and depression. And so I kind of just, we tried psychiatric medications. They made me feel like a zombie.
Oh my God.
And so I was anxious primarily. And so I just turned to substances like alcohol and other things to kind of cope. And I was even smoking cigarettes. I was doing all the things. And I just kind of continued here until I met my husband, who told me once he moved in with me right before we got married that there's something we can do for this. He didn't know the extent of my anxiety or my digestive issues because I hid them pretty well. I kind of just learned this was my life and I was just going to have to learn to make the best of it. But when he noticed it, he said, we've got to do better than this, as my new wife. And so he got online way back in the day and found early people talking about the paleo diet. I think it was like Rob Wolf and Lauren Cordain at that time, not very many people. And I didn't want to do it, but we just tried. We're like, well, how hard can it be to just at least cut out processed foods, see what happens? And 30 days after we did that, my digestive issues were gone, and they haven't been back since, unless I, eat things that lead to the digestive issues. At least I've been able to identify that. And so my mental health piece, I didn't expect that to come with it, but the longer I stayed on this whole foods diet, the more and the happier I felt. I felt that little girl who was just like had this passion and enthusiasm for life. She returned. So it was no longer about managing through every day. It was like about thriving and what I could add to other people's lives. And so there's this profound shift that I made. And even though I was working as a fitness trainer and I looked really fit, I was definitely not well. Like you said, I was working with Tracy Anderson. I was on tour with Jennifer Lopez, and I looked, I was ripped, but I was also breaking out anxious. And at night, it looked like I was pregnant after meals. So once I found this profound association between diet and mental health and physical health, I knew that I had to go back to school. And that's when I went back to school. And the reason we focused on products was because we saw the longer time went on, the more people joined this effort to educate around the paleo diet. And we knew that we just needed to create the staples and food products that people could trust so that they could be entrepreneurs or moms or people who love to travel or whatever you want to do, and also have the foods that could make this like whole foods diet realistic. So that's how we got here. And it was until when my son came along, he's 5 now, we started to look at the bigger picture. And when we were sourcing the beef for our 100% grass-fed beef sticks, we met farmers who taught me about the nuance that comes with grass-fed beef, and that you could actually do agriculture in a way that would sequester carbon, build topsoil, and could actually improve environmental health in like a verifiable way. And so we decided to create our second business because we know that according to the FAO that we only have 60 years of topsoil left. So we decided to leverage the relationships we already had and be the connection point between the farmers who are using regenerative methods and the consumers who want these products and want to support environmental health. So that's what Wild Pastures is.
Wow, I love that. I love that so much. I mean, there's so many ways that we, there's so many questions that I have in that, right? No, seriously, because I just can relate to so many things. So like you, when I was growing up, I was a 3-sport athlete and super overachiever and all of that. But I was always struggling with like digestive issues and depression and all of that. And every time I went to a doctor, all they would do was slap a label on me. Like I call it the acronym, the mystery diagnosis, right? They don't really know what's going on, but they sure knew how to like prescribe me a laxative, and I would walk out with like these powders and stuff. Anyways, and that's how I got into detox, right? It was that relentlessness to heal myself of the leaky gut, the IBS, and the depression, essentially. And so it's so interesting how when you become really focused on your willingness to heal yourself and the path of that your path turns into your purpose, right? Your pain turns into your path, which can turn into your purpose. So, yeah. And I often say food is mood, food is mindset, and food is medicine. Like it's all three of those, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's amazing. And what's really interesting, I'd love for you to share a little bit how you went to this the Institute of Psychology of Eating, right? The Institute of Psychology of Eating. So tell me a little bit about that, because I always say to people, like, how you relate to food is how you relate to yourself and everything in your life. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, that was exactly what the whole program was about, right? That like our food issues are not food issues. They're just life issues. And they're an opportunity for us to look really close, kind of get comfortable, check ourselves out, get really curious, and find out what it is that's actually driving this behavior, because there's always something, right? So there's life dimensions in the program that we examined, like our family of origin, our relationships in general, our sexuality, our relationship to money and power, and our career. And we just kind of went through that. And what I find most often in my practice is that people are leaning on food to change their state, right? Because they're experiencing emotions that they're not comfortable with, because a lot of us, or some of us, haven't yet figured out or become comfortable with the fact that emotions and feelings that are uncomfortable that we are experiencing right now will actually move through us and go away, but we have to pay attention to them first. So it's these compensatory behaviors like food addiction and carbohydrate addiction specifically, also gambling and drinking, alcohol use, that we're using because we're oftentimes ignoring those feelings. The other major thing that I see a lot is we've just lost touch with the fact that we need to experience pleasure in many forms, right? So food is our most basic.
And then it's like it's okay, right?
We have to. It's
like
yeah, we can't not. We're wired for it, and it is kind of like a dirty word in our culture, like, oh, pleasure, you know. But it's like it is something we're wired for. We have to experience it, and when we don't, we will be prompted to eat because it is our most readily available source of pleasure. And so, if we are not, what I have people do is make a list of the 10 things they would do on a day off that are not food related. If they woke up and they did not have any responsibilities. So for me, it looks like a hike. I'd probably do some serious dance parties. I would make a playlist. I would do a bubble bath. I would get a massage. I would have brunch or at least coffee with my little guys. I have this kind of like toolkit of pleasurable activities that I weave into my week. I have 2 or 3 of them that I make sure I do so that I'm not like leaning on food to be all of the pleasure in my life.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that so much. I love that so much. And that's actually something that I integrate into the work that I do with my clients in my detox, right? It's like, because when they separate from the sources where they've been reaching for the numbness, and they don't have that, there can be a panic, right? And so it's learning how to nurture yourself and nourish yourself in ways that aren't food related, right? And then through that, cultivating a deeper connection to yourself, to source, and like a safety so that you can connect deeper with other people too, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I noticed when I was like, I actually worked through my own eating challenges. I had an eating disorder back in high school, and that's what made me want to seek this program out. And I just want to give a shout out to Mark David and Emily Rosen, who created the program. It's amazing. And if you're interested in it, I highly, highly recommend it. But I remember like on tour, I was trying to save all this money so that my husband and I could get ahead. We had just gotten married. And I was ignoring kind of all the stress of the day-to-day being in several countries. And I would get to my hotel room and I would just binge on Toblerone bars from the mini bar. And so I just had this like really challenging, I wasn't acknowledging the stress. I was too worried about money. And you see a lot of times in life, you try and control one area. And when you do too much, it comes out. Like a wolf inside comes out. And you attack the minibar or whatever you do. But I just want people to know that, like, I think this is, these are behaviors that are totally acceptable and that make a lot of sense when you really look at the context of your life. So I just like to reiterate.
It's normal.
Yes. And it makes sense even. And so it's all just about getting curious about your experience, right? Learning not to use self-judgment and just to see these challenges, if you're having them, as like a huge opportunity to learn how to self-regulate, which I think is at the key, is the kind of the foundation of these challenges.
Wow. Yeah, totally. And I think what really sticks in my mind is you said this line that I think is so ingrained in our Western culture, and that's to get ahead. I was saving money. I was so stressed saving money to get ahead, right? And that's like, I feel like in the Western world, and you know, I guess I didn't grow up in the Eastern world, but I've lived over there for a long time, where they just have a different way of, there's more trust in like life and universal support and like God, you know, however they have like so much belief and trust, right? And in the Western world, we're taught control and force and domination and like this get ahead syndrome. And I think that creates so much stress and anxiety. And then that manifests, whether it's anger or depression or, you know, the illusion of control and trying to like, when like there's no getting ahead, you know, There really is no getting ahead.
No, it's so very, very true. And I've made a pretty much a 180. I mean, I'm still a very driven person, but I have multiple layers in my life rather than, oh, pedal to the metal all the time. I just have to be achieving and producing. No, I do that a few hours a day, and then I turn around and I practice mindfulness, and I am truly present with my little guy. And I remember that these are the moments that I'll remember forever, not all of the achievements that I'm going for. We just get so caught up in that hedonistic treadmill. And we forget that even when we achieve those things, it doesn't, like those achievements don't make us happy for that long. It's kind of like we turn
No,
our
there's always something next.
Well, you said
it's on to the next thing, right?
exactly. I even started paying attention, like how long do I actually feel really satisfied? It's like a week. And then it's like, okay, what's next? But if we can slow down and just remember the important things in life and surrender. Faith is a huge one of those dimensions that you explore when it comes to your relationship with food. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, totally. Wow. Thank you so
Can
much.
I add one more? Can I add one more dimension that I often find is related?
Please.
Authenticity. I think I always have people do a desire inventory as well, in addition to the pleasure. Like, what in your life have you always wanted to kind of achieve when you were a little kid, you can amend it as you age. But if you're not living in alignment with like your heart and the things that actually make you really happy, I find that creates a level of stress too that we often need to numb out with food. So
yeah, I totally hear you. And so I have a master's in spiritual psychology, right?
Oh.
And I mostly work with spiritual business women. And this is so much of what I help them do. It's like get unstuck, feel safe in their skin, and like follow their heart and their high, like, because the heart is the highest path, right? We grow. I just believe like we really evolve through the heart, not through the head. And the heart will always lead us on the highest path. It doesn't always make the most practical sense, right? But
no.
I think life doesn't make practical sense.
I know it's so funny you say that, because when I tell people my story and they're like, you left J-Lo to sell beef sticks, and I'm like, no, like, first of all, I think Paleovalley, my mission is a lot bigger than that. But to the outside eye, it's kind of like, she's crazy. But I can honestly say I wake up every single day invigorated and just excited to help create new products and to help educate people around this topic. Whereas when I was a fitness trainer, I had this awesome life, that I was leading that everyone would want to experience, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't a heart-centered experience in the same way.
Yeah, totally. And thank you for pointing that out, because I think that people put so much like perception on glamour, or what the perception of glamour is, and the path of the heart is, I totally understand, because when you're leading from the head and from the ego, or whatever it is that you think the outer world is going to be more like in acceptance, or whatever's like fancier to the outer world, that flame dies, right? And when you're like following your heart medicine, I don't know, that just like came to me. It's like heart medicine. I totally understand, because like I wake up every morning, I don't even need an alarm. Like I'm so excited, somewhere in the 5 o'clock hour, like today I get to do this, and it's just so different when your path is really from your heart, right? So thank you for pointing that out. So with that, let's dive into what you guys are doing at Paleovalley, because like when I found you guys, I was like, oh my God, I'm so in love with this company. I mean, I'd love for you to talk about Paleovalley and what it means to be paleo. So just, because I focus on detox. And so in my detox company, what I do is I get people off the processed foods and all of that, and I get them reconnected to real whole foods. And when you're on my detox, you're not, it's all plant-based, 100% organic, non-GMO plants, right? Things from the earth. And separate from that, you know, then people will always ask me, like, so what should I eat? Like, what diet do I follow? There's always a should, right? And I just don't believe in a one and done nutrition protocol for everyone. And so what I love about Paleovalley that is I was really reading about how you guys are sourcing your ingredients and the integrity that you're having in that. And then I finally found products that are animal based, right? Like your bone broth protein, that I feel confident talking to my people who are carnivores, and I can say, you know what, I don't, because up till now I'm like, there isn't really a protein powder on the market that I believe in, or very, very few, because they're filled with so much crap, and the way that they're being manufactured and sourced is not, it's not what I want to endorse. But I feel, but I will endorse you. I endorse you. That's why I have you on here, you know? And I love your apple cinnamon protein bar, which is a big deal. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, thank you for your support. We love that. Our company, our mission is basically just to make the highest quality, most nourishing foods available to the masses, and to make them delicious and fun for kids, and to make sure that we're supporting the right kind of agriculture, right? And the right kind of, because as we've all seen now, like I just read this study about these farmers who are actually getting killed because, or not the farmers, but these tribal people who are actually being killed for their land because there's such a demand for grass-fed meat in other countries because we're importing so much. Okay, so that's really, really scary. And so also, these regenerative methods have the ability to not only sequester carbon, which is going to help take it out of the atmosphere where we don't want it, but also rebuild our topsoil so that we can once again reestablish like the nutrient density in our soil, which means the nutrient density of our plants and the animals who eat our plants. So we can do all of those things with our decision day to day, like you and I. We have 3 votes every single day or every single time you eat, but also on a larger scale, we can do this as a company, right? So all of our decisions are made through that lens, like how are they impacting human health? We never add any freaky additives. No ingredient that I wouldn't put in my 5-year-old son's body will ever be found in any of our products. But then we also take that second step, like how is everything impacting the environment, and how can we do better, and how can we connect with the consumer to the small farmers? Because a lot of times farmers aren't marketers, and they might be doing all the right things, but they don't have the background to get themselves out there. And so, yeah, those are our company's goals, just to help everyone be as healthy as possible and the planet as healthy as possible. And like you said, our apple cider vinegar or our apple cinnamon bars, we just got these today in the mail. These are our pumpkin spice bars. They're seasonal. Oh my goodness, they're so good. We were just like, oh my gosh, we love our other bars, but they all of a sudden need to be much better because this is incredible. And so we do have our collagen. Good. I highly recommend, if you're not on our email list, make sure that you get there at paleovalley.com, because these are not going to be available for very long. But my goal with the food bars was to, if you go into the grocery store and you look at the shelves and these protein or, health food bars, most of them are carb bars. Let's be honest, or they have really low quality sources of protein like soy protein, and they might have gluten and other allergens. And so I wanted to create a bar free of that, but also that had superfoods in it. So our bars actually have collagen from grass-fed and grass-finished animals, which most collagen is not. They're grass-fed, but they're not grass-finished. That's a whole different story. But also, and then they have like acerola cherry and spinach and stuff like that, stuff that our bodies really, really want in a snack, will help keep us far more satisfied rather than some like empty calorie, nothing carb bar. And so we have apple cinnamon, we have the pumpkin spice for a limited time, and then we have chocolate. And then we also have a lemon meringue and a velvet cake coming that are so good.
Wow.
And we have more and more flavors coming because we actually opened our own bar facility about a year ago because the quality control was just not working at our other ones. And again, quality is so central to everything that we do. And so we're like, okay, I guess we're just going to have to do that ourselves. But we have those. We also have, like you said, our beef sticks. And the reason I made those was because I was relying heavily on beef sticks when I was on that world tour. And they still, even the grass-fed versions were giving me a little stomach upset. And so I looked into what ingredients they were using. Apparently it is standard to use an ingredient called encapsulated citric acid, and it is actually derived from GMO corn. It involves hydrogenated oils, which everyone knows we shouldn't be eating, but because it's such a small amount, they don't have to label it, and they can just call it citric acid. So pretty much every beef stick on the market uses this, and I have this like conscience. I don't know where I got it. My parents, I think they did a good job, or maybe I was born with it, but I couldn't live with the fact that I would be giving this to people. And so we had to create an alternative, and that's why we ferment them like our ancestors did. And it takes a long time. It doesn't make financial sense, but is a product that I feel good about sharing, and that's more important to me. So we do that. And then basically our product line is just a story of our lives. We created that product to start. I got pregnant, so then I wanted the organ complex because organ meats are nature's multivitamins, and I was really obsessed with getting all the nutrients my little baby would need. Then I got heavy into the vitamin C research and found out 90% of vitamin C products on the market are derived from GMO corn. And I put that in my body, and I didn't want to support those agriculture methods. And then apple cider vinegar complex right here was the result of, I used to make this morning longevity drink that my husband and I created. We called it Ignite Tea. It just has turmeric and apple cider vinegar and ginger and lemon and all these things, because apple cider vinegar has a number of benefits for digestive health, for longevity, for keeping our blood sugar stable. And so I would make my clients do that, drink it daily. And then I realized it was could erode your tooth enamel to drink apple cider vinegar regularly. And people just didn't have time to constantly whip it up. So we just put them in capsules. And then we have other products too, if you want me to talk about them. But those are, it's basically just as I go along in my studies. I'm now in a doctoral program. And so I'm just kind of obsessed with learning and creating solutions for the problems my family and my friends and clients are facing.
Totally. I love that. It's interesting because I listen to you, and our journeys are so parallel, you know, like with how you said, talking about how you're fermenting and you're doing these things that don't make financial sense to 97% of the food and supplement industry, right? But you know that that's how to stay in integrity with your mission and how to deliver the highest quality product that you can for your people, right? And I'm the same way, like with our formulas, with my liver tonic and my bowel tonic and my detox kits. So like each herb it goes through testing for aflatoxins, arsenic, E. coli, microbacteria, like 5 rounds of testing before we'll even use it. And then they extract each herb individually, because each herb has a unique extraction process, just like how that one ingredient needs to be fermented, right? Before you even put it in, where most other companies would just put it in. Right. But it's more bioavailable if you take it through that process. So it's like I extract individually, so each herb is really having the maximum medicinal value. And then you put it back together, and then it goes out for more testing, So it's like financially nothing makes sense. But you can stand so solid behind every single one of your products. Yeah. That I just believe that there's an energy that comes in through, that then goes out to your customers and to your prospects, right? If we're talking about from a business perspective. And people feel that, it makes a really big difference. And I loved that when I was eating your protein bars, that I would eat it, I would only need like a third of it. And I was like so satisfied. And I like wouldn't be hungry, because I can find, like, I have this pattern where I'll notice, like, I'll expend so much energy that then I just need like a little something, like a little hit, And so go into the next, right? And I would be eating, when I was like trying your products and all of the different things. I'm trying the neuro effect right now, and I'm totally going to try the organ complex. Yeah. So, but I want to talk about that separate. But it's just, when you deliver like real nutrient dense, bioavailable, meaning your body can actually utilize it, or whatever you're delivering the highest quality. Your people experience that, you know, and there's passion in that too. And I just believe in tension and like the energy that goes through the love in the products that then goes through into the company and out to the consumers. Like there's a vibration in there, and that has an impact too, right? And you guys are definitely like nailing it, seriously. So can you just tell, I want you to, for my audience, right, that's like, there's keto, there's paleo, there's plant-based, there's so many, vegan, Can you just give like a net of like what paleo is? Because I know some people that like say they're vegan, but they're paleo, and they're, you know, and so I think like that there's a collective thought process that being paleo means you're eating only animals all the time or whatever. Because I talk to a lot of people that have a lot of misperceptions. So I'm hoping you can clear up that misperception. And then I also want to talk about the organ complex. Okay. So let's talk about clearing up the misconception and really what paleo means to you.
Yeah, paleo to me is a starting point. Obviously, it was the beginning and end of my digestive issues, but it wasn't where I landed forever. Basically, it's just the idea that you're eating whole foods, right? The advent of agriculture. So we're not eating a lot of dairy foods. We're not eating a lot of grains. We're basically sticking to vegetables, fruits, and high quality animal products. And like you said, a lot of people are under the assumption that it has a lot of meat. Mine never does. Like I have a type where I'm like a slower oxidizer. And so I don't need to eat a lot of meat. I eat plant heavy, organic plants, like half of my plate every time. Whereas my husband, he is a faster metabolizer. And so he eats more of the animal products and fewer of the vegetables. He's also noticed that he actually gets like tooth pain when he eats too many vegetables. So we just like couldn't be more different. And not a lot of beans as well either, because beans will, for some people who have like gut dysfunction, just don't do as well with a lot of beans. And so it's like eliminating beans and eliminating grains and just focusing on the foods that you can find in nature, basically, before we started agriculture and without the grains. So that's what paleo means to me. But the precise macronutrient ratios that you're consuming, those can vary dramatically between person and person. And I think it's up to you and to use your intuition and to listen to podcasts like this to kind of learn more about it, listen to your body. And I think when you do that and you stick to whole foods, it's kind of, that's like the yellow brick road to wellness, I think.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much. And it's all about whole foods. That's what I tell people. Like I call those other bars, and 97% of the things on the shelves are just really science projects. So you're just buying science projects and you're putting science projects in your body, and then those science projects are creating more science projects in your gut biome, right? So like if you read the label, and I love what you pointed out that's so important that people don't understand, like citric acid, that's made from GMO corn, but it's so nominal that they don't have to label it, right? And that's so messed up. And that's why I just really always try to encourage people, go back to real whole foods. If you don't understand what it is on the plate, then don't eat it, right? It's like that simple. So, so I want to hear about the organ complex, and here's kind of how this got me stimulated on this. I kind of started doing some research about K1 and K2 vitamins and learning about, because I follow some different sort of biohackers and, you know, different people. And so I've become very curious about organ meat and organ meat for bone health. And especially, you know, as I'm getting older, and I believe, like, you know, the Western biology has indoctrinated us into this bone loss conversation. And I think that a big part of that has to do with, you know, the air and the water and the food that we're eating that's demineralizing our bodies and our bones. But so I was starting to explore other ways, and that's when I started learning about organ meat. And not being a carnivore myself, I was like, well, maybe I can get this in a supplement and I can take it that way, right? So if you could share, like, especially with your vast range of knowledge, like, why organ meat, why the organ meat complex, and how often, and is it every day forever, or is it a period of time and a break, or, you know?
Yeah, I would love to. Okay, so when I got pregnant, like I said, I started to get really tired and really focused on, okay, how can I get the nutrients that my growing, baby needs, and also give myself the nutrients so I'm not exhausted at the end of this process. And I came upon, most people think that plants are the most nutrient dense foods in the world, but when you really look at it gram for gram, liver and organ meats are actually the most nutrient dense. But I knew there was no way that I was going to eat them. We tried.
Yeah, totally.
It's not for me. It's just not for me. And so what we did was take really high quality organs, liver, heart, and kidney that I just did not want to eat from grass-fed and finished animals. And then we put them in capsules. Literally, there's been research around liver. I'm telling you, all of the reviews that we get from our clients, it's about energy and endurance and like mental clarity, because it's the world's richest source of vitamin B12, and also which is really important for energy and brain health, and also vitamin A, which is really important in reproduction and immune health and skin health. And so there's also like studies that show that if you put a rat in a drum of water, which they often do, and then measure the amount of time it takes them to get really tired or just to quit swimming, you can do it 6 times, 7 times longer when you eat organ meats, liver specifically, as opposed to like B vitamins or just a regular diet. At the end of this one particular study, the mice were still swimming and they just had to end it because they were so invigorated by liver. So anyway, that's what I've decided. It's a great source of, like I said, B12, B vitamins in general, vitamin A, and then also you said K2, vitamin D is going to be in there. You're going to have minerals. The best part about it is these aren't isolated ingredients. I know like it's important to balance, vitamin D and vitamin A and vitamin K and and magnesium specifically for bone health. But there's like contradictory evidence, like sometimes supplementing calcium specifically, without all of these nutrients in the way in a package in which Mother Nature created them in balance, they aren't used properly and then can even be damaging. And so that's why I love food. Mother Nature figured it out. And so we use this daily, like according to Weston A. Price Foundation, about 2-3 ounce servings of organ meats every week is ideal. And so if you take our 6 capsules every day, which is our new dosing, you're going to be getting a little bit, pretty close to 4 ounces. So we did that because some other people eat organ meats, right? And so if you eat organ meats already, we love that. Like, keep doing that. That's important. But we also didn't want to go overboard, because if you have more than like 6 ounces a week, there could be issues with vitamin A toxicity and other things. And so, yeah, we kept it right under the 6 ounce dose requirement. And that's around 4 ounces a week at the 6 capsules per day. And I do take it every day. I go off, like, I don't love to be reliant on anything all the time. So what I often do is like 5 days on, and then I'll take a weekend day off or something, just give my body a break. But I can tell you this, we ran out of our organ complex recently, and I noticed in my energy and in my brain, I was just more forgetful. And so, yeah, but I definitely use it regularly.
Wow. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to play with this, and I'll definitely report it. Right. So everyone, so Autumn is at a hard stop in 2 minutes because she's such a dedicated mom, and she's going to go pick up her little one. You can find all of these products that we've been talking about that I totally I'm using, right? So I only share things that I use and I believe in, and it's at Paleovalley, right? So it's Paleo Valley.com. There's so much more that we could talk about today. But I want to honor your dedication. So I would like if you could just share a few golden nuggets about how you produce at the level that you do to be such a dedicated entrepreneur with 2 companies. And I think you're also taking clients in your practice, and then you're a mom, right? Because so many people that are part of my family, right, are mompreneurs, that are trying to figure out how to do it all, and they're running around pretty stressed out. So how do you accomplish what you need to accomplish in a day and stay sane?
Okay, yes, this has taken a while to figure out, but basically what I do um, is plan my day. I block my day, right? So with time, I've realized, okay, I'm really sharp in the morning, not so good in the afternoon. So I wake up, I do gratitude every day. I just kind of set the tone. And then right away with my little guy, we have mindful play. We just play from 7 to 8 in the morning. It's he and I. He usually leads the show. We're trying on costumes. We do whatever. It feels so good and is so therapeutic for me to be there with him and just to give him that undivided attention. And then we'll have like a healthy breakfast. We'll probably get outside for some light exposure, and then he'll go off to school. When he goes off to school, I have the first 2 hours, and it is whatever project requires the most focus from me. Okay. Usually right now it's writing some sort of doctoral paper, working on an advertisement, designing a product, whatever. And then I go and I do a little exercise. Every day exercise is a part of my process because it helps me kind of just like move through things and produce endorphins. And there's so many benefits. And so there's like an hour of exercise. I'll go up, I'll make my green shake. That's another block of time. I've got a half an hour to do that and then to just enjoy that. Then I go back downstairs and I have another 1 hour of pretty focused attention, something that requires a lot of me. And then after that is my 2 hours of just kind of like catching up on emails or, checking my Slack or my notifications or my emails. That comes after because I find if I wake up and just start reacting to what everyone else needs from me, I don't have control over my day. And so that is usually the last thing that I do and just kind of tie up all my loose ends. And then I do like a 5, 6 hour, 7 hour workday, 7 hours tops. And then like I do right now, I'm stopping, I'm going to go pick up my guy and it all goes away. And I just, again, focus on family. We eat dinner, we take a walk. We do numerous things. But I think just being intentional with your time, blocking your time, understanding yourself well enough to know when you're going to be able to reduce certain things and when you need to have a little flexibility. Fridays is just a fun day. Like I work really hard in the morning and then the afternoon is usually just a little more laid back. So that's been my secret for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today and for coming on and for your passion and dedication and for saving our world. Like essentially your dedication to saving humans and saving the world.
You're welcome. I'm doing my small part over here, but thank you for the time and the opportunity to connect with you and with your audience. We're just so grateful for your support.
Absolutely. And everyone go to Paleovalley and go through all of their amazing products and try them all. They're amazing. So thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Thank